The lights on Kepler Station flickered red as the emergency alarm sounded through the corridors. Dr. Zixthara lifted her crystalline head from the medical charts. She was reviewing. Her 6 eyes moved independently as she scanned the room. The alarm meant only one thing. An emergency patient was coming in. The Velthari doctor stood up on her 4 legs and moved quickly toward the main medical bay. Her crystal shell caught the light as she walked. She had been working at the station for 12 years now, treating sick and injured animals from across the galaxy. Nothing surprised her anymore, or so she thought. The communication device on her wrist buzzed. "Dr. Zixthara, we need you in Bay 7 immediately," came the voice of Nurse Kilara, a young Quillan with soft blue fur. "On my way," Zixthara replied, her voice making a musical sound that was common to her species. As she entered Bay 7, she saw Captain Piptok standing near the large viewing window. The small Quillan captain was shaking, his whiskers twitching with fear. His usually neat uniform was torn and dirty. "Doctor, thank the stars you are here," Piptok said, his voice high with panic. "We have a situation, a bad one." Zixthara looked through the viewing window into the cargo hold. A large metal container sat in the center, badly damaged. Steam was coming from several cracks in its side. She could hear something moving inside. "What kind of animal is in there?" she asked. Piptok pulled out a data pad with shaking hands. "It is from Earth. The humans call it a grizzly bear. We were taking it to the research station on Gamma 7 when our engines failed. The container was damaged when we made the emergency landing." Zixthara read the information on the pad. Her eyes widened with each line. Weight, 800 pounds. Classification, apex predator. Bite force, enough to crush metal. Claw length, 4 inches. This creature could kill a dozen beings without effort, she whispered. A loud bang came from inside the container, followed by a deep growling sound that made both aliens step back from the window. The container shook as whatever was inside moved around. "The sedate is wearing off," Piptok said. "The damage to the container broke the medicine delivery system. The animal will be fully awake soon." Zixthara activated her scanner and pointed it at the container. The reading showed severe injuries. Deep cuts across the creature's side and back. A possible broken bone in the front leg, internal bleeding. Without treatment, the animal would die within hours. "I cannot treat this creature," Zixthara said firmly. "Station safety protocols are clear. No class of predators can be treated without specialized containment. This thing is too dangerous." "But doctor, it will die," Piptok pleaded. "Better it dies than it kills everyone on this station," Zixthara replied. She had seen the damage that apex predators could do. Her own homeworld had creatures like this, and they were kept far away from populated areas. The container shook. Again, harder this time. A crack appeared in the metal near the bottom. "The container will not hold much longer," Piptok said. "Please, there must be something you can do." Zixthara was about to refuse again when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see a human walking toward them. He was wearing the simple green uniform of the station's veterinary staff. His name tag read, Dr. Jake Morrison. Jake was not very tall, even for a human. He had brown hair that was getting gray at the sides and kind eyes behind simple glasses. He moved with the calm confidence that Zixthara had noticed in most humans. "What's all the noise about?" Jake asked. His voice was calm and friendly. "We have a dangerous predator that needs medical treatment," Zixthara explained, "but it is too risky to approach." Jake walked to the viewing window and looked inside. The container shook again, and they could hear heavy breathing from within. "What kind of animal?" Jake asked. "A grizzly bear from Earth," Piptok answered. 800 pounds of pure killing machine." To Zixthara's surprise, Jake smiled. "A grizzly? Oh, he's probably scared out of his mind. Poor guy." "Poor guy?" Zixthara's voice rose in disbelief. This creature could tear you apart with one swipe of its claws. Jake nodded. Yeah, Bruno could definitely hurt someone if he wanted to. But grizzlies don't usually want to hurt anyone. They just want to be left alone. Bruno? Pip-Talk asked. That's what it says on his transport papers, Jake said, reading over Pip-Talk's shoulder. Bruno, age 12, from the Montana Wildlife Reserve. He's been in captivity most of his life. Another loud bang came from the container, followed by what sounded almost like a whine. He's in pain, Jake said quietly. And scared. Can you imagine waking up hurt and trapped in a metal box on an alien space station? Zixthara stared at the human. You cannot be serious. You are talking about this predator as if it were a pet. Not a pet, Jake corrected. But not a monster. Either, just an animal that needs help. The crack in the container grew larger. They could see movement through the gap now. The container will fail soon, Pip-Talk said. If that creature gets loose in the station, ... Then we better help him before that happens, Jake said simply. Zixthara looked at Jake as if he had lost his mind. You cannot possibly be suggesting that we treat this creature. Humans are persistence hunters. You are basically prey animals with good endurance. That bear would see you as food. Jake laughed, which shocked both aliens. Dr. Zixthara, I appreciate your concern, but humans aren't really prey animals. We're more complicated than that. What do you mean? She asked. I mean we've been living with creatures like Bruno for thousands of years. We learned how to understand them. Most of the time, they're not thinking about hunting us. They're thinking about the same things we are. Staying safe, finding food, taking care of their families. The container gave another violent shake. This time they heard the sound of tearing metal. Decision time, Jake said. He started walking toward the door to the cargo hold. Where are you going? Zixthara called after him. To help Bruno, Jake replied without stopping. Zixthara watched in horror as the human opened the door to the cargo hold. She was certain she was about to witness a terrible death. Instead, she heard Jake's voice, calm and steady, talking to the creature inside the damaged container. Hey there, big guy. I know you're scared and hurt. Let's see what we can do about that. Dr. Zixthara pressed all 6 of her eyes against the viewing window. She could not believe what she was seeing. The human had actually entered the cargo hold where the dangerous predator was trapped. Through the damaged container, she could see movement and hear Jake's voice. This is madness, she whispered to herself. Captain Pip-Talk stood beside her, his small body shaking. Should we call security? Maybe they can save him before it is too late. It may already be too late, Zixthara replied. She activated her communication device. Station control, we have a code red situation in Cargo Bay 7. A human has entered the containment area with a class of predator. The voice of Station Administrator Kalanara came through the speaker. What? Which human? Dr. Jake Morrison from the Veterinary Department. There was silence for a moment. Then Kalanara spoke again. I am sending security teams immediately. Do not let anyone else enter that area. Zixthara watched through the window as Jake moved closer to the damaged container. The bear inside was making loud noises now. Deep growls and heavy breathing echoed through the cargo hold. The container shook with each movement. He is going to die, Pip-Talk said quietly, but Jake did not seem afraid. He sat down on the floor about 10 feet away from the container. His movements were slow and calm. He began talking to the creature inside. I know you are scared, Bruno. This is not your home. Everything smells different. Everything sounds different. But I am here to help you. Zixthara could hardly believe her ears. The human was talking to the predator as if it could understand him. As if it cared about human words. The security team arrived. Led by Chief Garthak, a large hegemony warrior with thick armor and powerful weapons. "Where is the human?" he demanded. "Inside the cargo hold." Zixthara pointed through the window. Garthak looked through the window and his eyes widened. "Is he insane? That creature will tear him apart." "That is what I told him," Zixthara said, but he would not listen. Station Administrator Kalanara arrived with more security officers. She was a tall, elegant being with silver skin and large, black eyes. She looked through the window and saw Jake sitting calmly near the container. "Why is he just sitting there?" she asked. "I do not know," Zixthara replied. "He says humans have lived with creatures like this for thousands of years. He says they understand them." Kalanara shook her head. "Impossible. Humans are classified as persistence hunters. They evolved to chase prey over long distances. They are basically prey animals themselves, just with better endurance. No prey animal could survive close contact with an apex predator like that." The container gave another violent shake, and they heard the sound of more metal tearing. A large piece fell away, creating a gap big enough for the bear to stick his head through. "Here he comes," Garthak said, raising his weapon. Bruno's massive head appeared through the opening. His brown fur was matted with blood from his injuries. His small eyes looked around the cargo hold, trying to understand where he was. When he saw Jake sitting nearby, he let out a low growl. Everyone watching held their breath. They were certain they were about to see the human torn apart. Instead, Jake continued talking in his calm voice. "There you are, big guy. I can see you are hurt. Those cuts on your side look painful. And I bet that front paw is not feeling too good either." Bruno stared at Jake. The growling stopped. The bear tilted his head slightly, as if listening to the human's words. "This is impossible," Zixthara whispered. "Predators do not listen to prey, they attack." "Maybe humans are not prey," Kalanara said slowly. "Maybe our classification is wrong." Jake slowly stood up. Bruno watched his every movement, but did not attack. "I am going to move a little closer now, Bruno. I need to see how badly you are hurt." The bear watched as Jake took 3 careful steps forward. Bruno could have lunged at the human easily. One swipe of his massive paws would have ended Jake's life. Instead, the bear just watched. "Look at his body language," Jake said, speaking to the people watching through the window. "His ears are not pinned back in anger. His mouth is open because he is panting from pain, not because he is getting ready to bite. He is not showing aggression signals. He is showing fear and confusion." Dr. Zixthara studied the bear more carefully. She had been so focused on the creature's size and weapons that she had not really looked at its behavior. Now she could see what Jake meant. The bear did look more scared than angry. "But surely you can see how dangerous it is," she said into her communicator. Jake's voice came back through the speaker. "Of course he is dangerous. 800 pounds of muscle and claws. But being dangerous and being aggressive are two different things. Bruno here is not looking for a fight. He just wants to feel safe." More of the container fell away. Now Bruno could easily get out if he wanted to. The security team raised their weapons, ready to fire if the bear made any sudden moves. Bruno pushed his way out of the damaged container. He was even bigger than Zixthara had imagined. Standing on his back legs, he would have been over 8 feet tall. His claws were as long as her fingers. The bear looked around the cargo hold again. Then he looked down at Jake, who was now standing less than 6 feet away. "Hello, Bruno," Jake said softly. "You are a beautiful animal. I can see you have been through a lot. Those scars on your back tell me you have had a hard life." Bruno lowered his head and sniffed in Jake's direction. The human did not move away. He stood perfectly still while the massive predator examined his scent. "He is smelling you," Pip-Talk said nervously. "Predators smell their prey before they attack." "Or," Jake said, He is trying to figure out what I am. Bears have excellent noses. Much better than human noses. He can probably tell I am not afraid of him. You are not afraid? Kalanara asked in amazement. I am being careful, Jake corrected. There is a difference. I respect what Bruno can do. But I am not afraid of him. Fear makes animals nervous. And nervous animals are unpredictable. Bruno took a step closer to Jake, then another. Now the bear was close enough to touch the human. Close enough to kill him with one quick movement. Instead, Bruno sat down. The huge bear lowered himself to the floor and looked at Jake with what appeared to be curiosity. Good boy, Jake said gently. Now let me take a look at those injuries. Dr. Zixthara could not believe what she was seeing. A human, a supposed prey animal, was about to examine an apex predator with his bare hands. Everything she knew about animal behavior said this was impossible, but there it was, happening right in front of her eyes. Jake slowly reached into his medical bag while Bruno watched. The bear's small eyes followed every movement. The security team outside the window kept their weapons ready, but Jake seemed completely calm. I am going to clean your wounds now, Bruno, Jake said in his gentle voice. This might sting a little, but it will help you feel better. Dr. Zixthara spoke into her communicator. Dr. Morrison, you need restraints. You cannot treat a predator without proper containment. Jake's voice came back through the speaker. Restraints would only make him more scared. Look at him, Dr. Zixthara. Does he look like he wants to hurt me? Zixthara looked at the bear more carefully. Bruno was sitting quietly, his breathing steady. His ears were forward, not pinned back in anger. His mouth was closed, not open in a threatening snarl. This goes against everything I learned in medical school, she whispered. Jake pulled out a bottle of cleaning solution and some gauze pads. Bruno sniffed the air when the bottle opened. The bear made a small sound, almost like a question. Yes, this is medicine, Jake explained to the bear. It smells strong, but it will help your cuts heal properly. Station Administrator Kalanara arrived with more medical staff. Word was spreading through the station about the human treating the apex predator. Beings from different species gathered at the viewing window to watch. This is incredible, said Dr. Veltar, a hegemony physician. That creature should have killed him by now. Jake began cleaning the first wound on Bruno's side. The bear flinched when the solution touched the cut, but he did not pull away or growl. Instead, he turned his head to watch what Jake was doing. Good boy, Bruno. I know it stings, but we need to get all the dirt and metal pieces out of these cuts. The bear sat perfectly still while Jake worked. When Jake moved to clean a cut on Bruno's back, the bear shifted his position to make it easier for the human to reach. He is cooperating, Nurse Kilara said in amazement. The predator's actually helping with his own treatment. That is because he is not a mindless killing machine, Jake said as he worked. Bears are intelligent animals. They can understand when someone is trying to help them. Captain Piptalk pressed his face against the window. But how can you be sure he will not attack? One wrong move and you are dead. Jake paused in his work and looked at the gathered aliens through the window. I read his body language. Bruno is telling me with his posture, his breathing, and his movements that he does not see me as a threat. Animals communicate all the time. Most species just do not pay attention to what they are saying. As Jake continued cleaning the wounds, Bruno began to make a low rumbling sound. The security team tensed, thinking it was a growl of anger. He is purring, Jake said with a smile. Well, not exactly purring like a cat, but close. Bears make this sound when they are content. Dr. Zixthara could not believe her ears. Content? A predator being treated by a prey animal is content? Maybe humans are not prey animals, said Dr. Veltar thoughtfully. Maybe we have been wrong about their classification. Jake finished cleaning all the visible wounds and began preparing sutures for the deeper cuts. Bruno watched with interest as Jake threaded the needle. "This will hurt more than the cleaning, Bruno, but I need to close these cuts so they heal properly." The bear seemed to understand. He positioned himself so Jake could reach the worst wound easily. When Jake began stitching, Bruno's muscles tensed, but he did not move away. "Remarkable," whispered Dr. Zixthara. "The creature is allowing invasive medical procedures without any restraints." As Jake worked, he continued talking to Bruno. He explained each step of the treatment. He told the bear about his own experiences, treating animals on Earth. He even shared stories about other bears he had helped. Bruno listened to every word. Sometimes he would make small sounds in response, as if he was trying to communicate back. "Look at that," said Kalinara. "They are having a conversation." "Not exactly a conversation," Jake said as he tied off another suture. "But Bruno is definitely responding to my voice. Animals like familiar sounds. It helps them stay calm." After an hour of careful work, Jake had cleaned and stitched all of Bruno's wounds. The bear had remained calm throughout the entire process. He had even fallen asleep for a few minutes while Jake worked on his back. "Now I need to check that front paw," Jake said. "Bruno, can you show me your hurt foot?" To everyone's amazement, Bruno lifted his injured paw and held it out toward Jake. The human examined it carefully. "It is not broken, just badly bruised. We will wrap it up and give you some medicine for the pain." Jake bandaged Bruno's paw with the same gentle care he had shown throughout the treatment. The bear watched patiently, occasionally sniffing at the bandages. When Jake finished, he sat back and looked at his patient. "There you go, big guy. You should feel much better in a few days." Bruno looked down at his bandaged wounds, then back at Jake. The bear moved closer to the human and gently bumped Jake's shoulder with his massive head. "He is saying thank you," Jake said softly. The aliens watching could hardly believe what they had seen. A human had spent over an hour in close contact with an apex predator. He had performed surgery without restraints, sedation, or protective equipment. And the predator had not only allowed it, but had actively cooperated. "How is this possible?" Dr. Zixthara asked. "Everything we know about predator behavior says this should not work." Jake stood up and began packing his medical supplies. Bruno remained sitting, watching the human with what looked like gratitude. "Maybe what you know about predator behavior is based on scared, angry, or sick animals," Jake suggested. "Bruno here is not angry. He's just hurt and far from home. When you treat an animal with respect and kindness, they usually respond the same way. But he could kill you so easily," Pip-Talk said. "So could a lot of things," Jake replied. "But that does not mean they will. Bruno and I have an understanding now. He knows I helped him, and I know he appreciates it." As if to prove Jake's point, Bruno made the contented rumbling sound again. The bear seemed completely relaxed and at peace. Dr. Zixthara realized that everything she thought she knew about humans might be wrong. Maybe they were not prey animals at all. Maybe they were something entirely different. The next morning, news about the human and the bear had spread throughout Kepler Station. Beings from dozens of different species came to Cargo Bay 7 to see the impossible sight for themselves. Bruno was resting comfortably in a corner of the hold, his wounds properly bandaged and healing well. Dr. Zixthara arrived early to find Jake sitting near Bruno, checking the bear's bandages. The massive predator was lying on his side, completely relaxed as Jake examined his healing cuts. "How did you sleep, Bruno?" Jake asked the bear. Bruno made a soft chuffing sound in response. "You are talking to it again," Zixthara observed. "Him," Jake corrected gently. "Bruno is not an it. He is a living being with thoughts and feelings." Zixthara moved closer to the viewing window. Her 6 eyes studied the scene carefully. The bear showed no signs of aggression or fear. In fact, he seemed happy to see Jake. "I have been thinking about yesterday," she said. "I have been a veterinarian for 23 years. I have treated thousands of animals from hundreds of worlds. But I have never seen anything like what you did." Jake looked up from Bruno's bandages. "What do you mean?" "No prey animal has ever successfully treated a predator without restraints. It goes against every natural law we know." Station Administrator Kalinara entered the observation area with a group of other officials. Among them was Dr. Cathmoran, the head of xenobiology for the Galactic Medical Council. "Dr. Morrison," Kalinara said into the communicator. "Dr. Cathmoran would like to speak with you." Jake stood up and walked to the communication panel near the wall. Bruno watched him go, but remained calm. "Dr. Morrison, I am Dr. Cathmoran. I study how different species interact with each other. What you did yesterday challenges everything we understand about predator and prey relationships." "I just treated an injured animal," Jake said simply. "But, according to our classification system, you are a persistence hunter. Your species evolved to chase prey over long distances. You should have natural fear responses to apex predators like that bear." Jake looked back at Bruno, who was now sitting up and watching the conversation with interest. "Dr. Cathmoran, I think your classification system might be incomplete." "What do you mean?" Jake thought for a moment before answering. "Humans did evolve as persistence hunters. We can run long distances without getting tired. But we also evolved something else. We learned to live alongside other animals." "Explain," Dr. Cathmoran said. "On Earth, humans lived with wolves. Big, dangerous predators with sharp teeth and powerful jaws. But instead of just fearing them, we learned to understand them. Eventually, we turned wolves into dogs. We made predators into partners." The aliens in the observation room looked at each other in amazement. The idea of turning a predator into a companion was almost unthinkable to most species. Jake continued. "We did the same thing with horses. These are large, powerful animals that could easily hurt a human. But we learned to ride them, to work with them. We built our entire civilization alongside animals." "But surely you must have some natural fear of dangerous creatures," Dr. Veltar said. "We have caution," Jake replied. "We respect what dangerous animals can do. But we also understand that most animals do not want to hurt us. They just want to live their lives in peace." Bruno made a soft sound from his corner. Jake looked over at him and smiled. "Bruno, there is a perfect example. He weighs 800 pounds and has claws that could cut through metal. But he is not thinking about hurting anyone. He is thinking about his injuries, about being in a strange place, about wanting to feel safe." Dr. Zixthara found herself nodding. "Yesterday, I saw only the weapons. The claws, the teeth, the size. I did not see the animal." "Exactly," Jake said. "When you see only the danger, you miss everything else. You miss the intelligence, the personality, the individual needs of each animal." Captain Piptok, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "But how do you know the difference between a dangerous animal and a safe one?" Jake walked back over to Bruno. The bear looked up at him with calm eyes. "You learn to read the signs. Body language, breathing patterns, vocal sounds. Animals are always communicating. Most beings just do not know how to listen." He gently placed his hand on Bruno's head. The massive bear leaned into the touch, making a contented rumbling sound. "Bruno is telling me right now that he feels safe and grateful. His body is relaxed, his breathing is steady, and he is making happy sounds. These are not the signs of an animal that wants to attack." Dr. Cathmoran was recording everything on his datapad. "This changes our entire understanding of human capabilities. You are not just persistence hunters. You are something entirely unique." "What would you call us?" Jake asked. Animal partners, Dr. Zixthara said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. That is what you are. You do not just hunt animals or run from them. You make partnerships with them. Jake smiled. I like that, animal partners. Over the next few hours, more officials arrived to witness the human and bear interaction. Each time they were amazed by the calm relationship between Jake and Bruno. The bear allowed Jake to change his bandages, check his injuries, and even examine his teeth and ears. This should be impossible, Dr. Veltar said for the 10th time. Maybe impossible is just another word for something we do not understand yet. Jake replied. By afternoon, Bruno was feeling well enough to stand and walk around the cargo hold. Jake stayed close, making sure the bear did not reopen any of his wounds. His recovery is remarkable, Dr. Zixthara observed. Animals usually take much longer to heal from injuries this severe. Stress slows healing, Jake explained. When an animal feels safe and cared for, their body can focus on getting better instead of staying alert for danger. Bruno wandered over to the food and water that Jake had provided. The bear ate slowly and carefully, favoring his injured side, but clearly feeling much better. Dr. Morrison, Dr. Kethmoran said, I would like to recommend that the Galactic Medical Council create a new classification for humans. You are clearly not prey animals. You are something we have never encountered before. Jake looked through the window at all the alien faces watching him and Bruno. What are you going to call us? Healers who understand, Dr. Kethmoran said. Beings who can see past the surface to what lies beneath. 3 weeks later, Dr. Jake Morrison stood in the main medical classroom of Kepler Station. In front of him sat 20 alien veterinarians from across the galaxy. They had all come to learn about human methods of animal treatment. Dr. Zixthara sat in the front row, her 6 eyes focused on Jake. She had requested a transfer to work with the human after seeing what he had done with Bruno. The crystalline alien had become Jake's most eager student. Today we are going to talk about reading animal body language, Jake said to the class. The most important thing to remember is that every animal is always communicating. They tell us how they feel through their posture, their sounds, and their movements. A young Quillan veterinarian raised her hand. But Dr. Morrison, how can we trust what predators are telling us? Are they not trying to trick us? Jake smiled. Animals do not lie about their emotions the way intelligent beings sometimes do. When a predator is angry, you will see clear signs. When they are afraid, you will see different signs. When they are in pain, the signs change again. He activated a holographic display showing different animal postures. A truly aggressive animal will have its ears back, its muscles tensed for action, and its breathing will be fast and shallow. But an animal that is just scared will hold its body differently. Dr. Veltar, the hegemony physician, spoke up. What about the bear you treated? How did you know it would not attack you? Bruno showed me fear signals, not attack signals, Jake explained. His ears were forward, not back. His breathing was heavy from pain, not fast from anger. He was trying to understand his situation, not looking for something to fight. The class spent the next hour studying different animal behaviors. Jake showed them recordings of various earth animals and explained what each posture and sound meant. The key, Jake said, is to look past the weapons. Yes, a bear has claws and teeth. Yes, a wolf has strong jaws. But those same animals also have the capacity for gentleness, curiosity, and even affection. A message came through on Jake's communicator. It was from the wildlife preserve where Bruno had been sent to recover. Jake smiled as he read it. Speaking of Bruno, he said to the class, I just received an update. He has made a full recovery and is doing very well at his new home. The message included a video file. Jake played it on the classroom display. It showed Bruno playing in a large forest area, completely healed and happy. The bear looked healthy and content as he splashed in the stream. That is the same animal that everyone said was too dangerous to treat, Dr. Zixthara said quietly. That is what we see when we look past our fears, Jake replied. After the class ended, Station Administrator Kalinara approached Jake in the hallway. She carried a datapad with official documents. Dr. Morrison, I have news from the Galactic Medical Council, she said. They have officially changed the classification for humans. Jake looked at the documents. What is our new classification? Interspecies healers, Kalinara read from the pad. Beings capable of forming therapeutic relationships with animals. Across species barriers, Jake laughed. That sounds very official. There's more, Kalinara continued. The council wants to establish a new training program. They want human veterinarians to teach other species about animal behavior and treatment methods. That sounds like a good idea, Jake said. Animals everywhere deserve the best care possible. Word of the new classification spread quickly through the galactic medical community. Veterinarians from distant worlds began requesting transfers to work with human doctors. Medical schools added courses on human-animal psychology to their programs. Dr. Zixthara became the first alien to complete the new human-style veterinary training. She learned to read body language, to move slowly and calmly around frightened animals, and to see past the surface to understand what each animal really needed. It is amazing how much animals will tell you if you just pay attention, she said to Jake one day as they worked together treating a nervous pack animal from the outer rim. That is the secret, Jake agreed. Listen with your eyes, not just your ears. 6 months after the incident with Bruno, Jake received another message from the wildlife preserve. This time it included a special request. They want to use Bruno in their educational program, Jake told Dr. Zixthara. He has become very gentle with the staff there. They think he could help teach others about bear behavior. Bruno the teacher, Zixthara said with amusement. He went from being too dangerous to treat to helping educate others. Animals can change and grow, just like people, Jake said. Bruno learned to trust again after his injuries. Now he can help others learn not to be afraid. The final message from the preserve included one more video. It showed Bruno interacting calmly with preserve staff, allowing them to check his health and even play with him. The massive bear had become a gentle giant, beloved by everyone who worked with him. Jake watched the video with pride. Look at him now, happy, healthy, and helping others. That is what good medical care can accomplish. Double quotes. Dr. Zixthara nodded. And it all started because one human looked at a frightened animal and saw past the claws and teeth. That is what humans do, Jake said simply. We look for the being behind the beast. As news of their work spread, more stations began requesting human veterinarians. The techniques that Jake had used with Bruno became standard practice in medical facilities across the galaxy. The old classifications of predator and prey began to seem less important. What mattered now was understanding, compassion, and the willingness to see each animal as an individual with their own needs and feelings. Years later, when young veterinarians heard the story of Bruno and Dr. Jake Morrison, they learned the most important lesson of all. Fear sees only danger, but understanding sees possibility. And sometimes, the most frightening creatures are just the ones who need help the most. The galaxy had learned that humans were not prey animals or predators. They were something far more valuable. They were bridges between species, healers who could touch hearts across the vast differences that separated one being from another. And in a universe full of strange and wonderful creatures, that ability was perhaps the most precious gift of all.